正解。
Rebirth of the Malicious Empress of Military Lineage. Chapter 97. Evil Sao arrived again. In this wintry new year of Ming Qi's 69th year, there was an entire night of snow. The timely snow indicated a year with bumper harvest ahead, making the ordinary folks to be filled with joy as they prayed for the harvest of the coming year. However, to the general's residence in the Ding capital, this must be a special year. The second household of the Shen family had lost a daughter, and their family matriarch also went crazy. Moreover, the most powerful eldest household seemed to be in discord with the other two households and was not as close as in the past, and there were even signs of obvious estrangements. The Huang family that was previously engaged to Shen King became total enemies with the Shen family because of Shen King's matter, but since Shen Zin and couple were not in the Ding capital all year, they were not furious with them. As for the Wei family who was engaged to Shen Miao, because Luo Zuyan personally stepped in, they also verified that it was all a misunderstanding. The Wei family was considered honest and did not make things difficult for her. Add that Shen Zin promised to help Wei Darren more in the future during court. The Wei family was naturally happy to sell this favor. With regards to Shen Miao, this new year was considered quite good. No Fu Ziyu Yi, no Prince Yu, and even no Ren Wan Yun and Shen King. Some things were after all changing a step at a time. However, even though she was happy, there was someone who was not happy. In Rong Jingtang, old Shen Furen sat on her seat as Shen Yuanbo crawled around her, but she was somewhat impatient. There was also a resentment look in her shriveled face. The eldest family now do not attach importance to me, and did not even give more money to the public fund this year. The few chests of valuables that the palace bestowed were all locked up in their own courtyard. What are they thinking about? Do they even put any importance to me? Whenever old Shen Furen mentions about the matter, she would get angry. Previously, Shen Zin would put all the things that were bestowed from the palace to the public fund every year, because both husband and wife were often not in the Ding capital. Other than leaving some little playthings for Shen Miao, most of the things were useless to them. Old Shen Furen had benefited from this numerous times, but now that there were unforeseen changes between Shen Zin and the rest of the Shen family, Shen Zin did not even send over any money, and on old Shen Furen's eyes, this was simply outrageous. Old Furen must not be angry. Perhaps after these few days, eldest master's anger will dissipate and will send the stuff over. The Zhang Mama beside comforted. It is assumed that it was because of the matter of fifth young lady's treatment that made eldest master discontented and unwilling to send the things over. What fifth girl's treatment? Old Shen Furen fumed. For these years, I have provided for her food and drinks and raised her up, and the eldest family is still not satisfied. I see that he does not want to recognize me as a mother. A white-eyed wolf, aka ingrate, and that Luo Zuyan. Now even that fifth girl is so deadly smart. Who knows if there was someone behind teaching? When Zhang Mama saw that old Shen Furen was that angry, she stayed silent for a while before she spoke. Now that fifth young lady had grown up, her mind also became serious. But fifth young lady was brought up by old Furen, and previously fifth young lady would obey old Furen's words, so it is seen that she respects old Furen in her heart. It would be good if old Furen call fifth young lady over someday and coax her. Since she is a little young lady, it would definitely be easy to coax. Fifth young lady is most cherished by eldest master and eldest Furen, so if one can control fifth young lady, does not it mean that one can control eldest master's family? This Zhang Mama was also one who was very scheming. In fact, old Shen Furen was at the end a woman amidst winds and dust, meaning a woman in the prostitute's quarter, and her means and tactics were shameful. Thus when talking about being the family matriarch, it was more like she did not have the resources even though she wanted to do it. For so many years, if it was not for Zhang Mama giving guidance, one did not know how much jokes would have been made. Old Shen Furen sneered. I still have to coax her? Seeing that girl reminds me of that slut who still possessed master's heart even after being dead for so many years. Everything was biased towards their first household, And now you still want me to please her? I feel disgusted looking at her. Jiang Mama was somewhat helpless and wanted to persuade more, but heard the maid at the door said, "Second young master, you are here." Shen Yuan strode in. "You honor." Seeing Shen Yuan coming in, old Shen Furen's attitude warmed up quite a lot. When Shen Yuanbo, who was on the couch, saw him, he also looked at his own second older brother with a joyous smile. Shen Yuan did not reach his hands out to carry Shen Yuanbo and only smiled, came over to take a look at grandmother. "What is there to look at?" Old Shen Furen rebuked, but she had a happy expression. Among these grandchildren, her favorite was Shen Yuan. Shen Yuan's studies were outstanding since a young age and also entered an official career, making everyone to praise him and also growing her reputation. Naturally, he was valued the most by old Shen Furen, was lucky to get a bottle of jade snow cream and specially brought it over to grandmother. Grandmother must not belittle this grandchild's good intentions. Shen Yuan smiled as he handed the bottle in his hands over to old Shen Furen. Old Shen Furen was somewhat surprised, following which she feigned anger. "How old I am already to be using this? Are you deliberately angering me?" Even so, there was a look of unable to part on her face. Old Shen Furen background after all originated from a songstress, and thus powder and rouge were used non-stop even if one was old. Shen Yuan knew how to adapt to others' taste and was immediately able to sweep her hazy mood away. Grandmother is young, so this kind of good stuff should be used on grandmother. Shen Yuan flattered without any change of expression. Afterwards the grandparent and grandchild said other things. Shen Yuan was shrewd and old Shen Furen originally liked him. In addition, he purposely chose topics that would make old Shen Furen happy. Thus Rong Jingtang's atmosphere was incomparably harmonious that even Shen Yuanbo, who was on the couch, was treated indifferently. After talking for a while, Shen Yuan suddenly seemed to have remembered something and said without intention, "Speaking of which, grandmother, it seems that after a few days Biao younger sister and Biao younger brother will be coming over." Old Shen Furen was startled before speaking with a cold voice. "What Biao younger sister? What Biao younger brother?" "They will only stay for a few days before leaving." Before old Shen Furen was a songstress, she also had a family. Perhaps it was the family that sold her to the brothel house, and that old Shen Furen's ancestral home was in Suzhou. After old Shen Furen was brought over by General Shen to be his Furen, naturally she severed all ties with that family. It was just that this year, do not know how, but that family heard news about Shen old Furen, and let their pair of grandchildren to come over to the Ding capital, saying it was to take a look at Shen old Furen. But everyone was clear that this was to seek gratuitous help. With old Shen Furen, kind of person who acts with mercenary considerations, and after so many years of not seeing, naturally one would not have any feelings for that family. Thus when Shen Yuan mentioned the matter, naturally she was not willing to talk more about it. Shen Yuan said, "I have never seen this pair of Biao siblings, and thinking of this, their age would be similar to fifth younger sisters." He sighed. "Speaking of which, eldest older brothers return to the Ding capital this trip. I heard that eldest Bo and eldest Bo Mu are selecting young ladies that caught his fancy. Most likely they are worrying about big matters for him." "Shen Kaiyu is selecting a wife?" Old Shen Furen suddenly sat straight up. "I did not know of this matter." "You honor, do you know which family's young lady did they pick?" "That one do not know." Shen Yuan thought a little. But with eldest Bo's and eldest Bo Mu's family status, naturally they would select young ladies with families that have larger power in court. Then it would be adding flowers on brocade. With eldest brother's current prospects, one believed that with eldest Sao's residence support, he would only be like a powerful tiger and go up to the next level. The more Shen Yuan said as such, the uglier old Shen Furen's face became. After a long period of time she then said sourly, "One have to see if the other young lady take a fancy of him." Shen Yuan only put on an unknowing look and said with no intentions, "But the most important thing is that it is to eldest brother liking. If eldest brother fancy, then the eldest household would not matter." If one were to say, It might be our little young sister who eldest brother fancy, and at that time it would be cementing the ties by marriage. What kind of nonsense are you speaking about? Old Shen Furen frowned and subconsciously refuted Shen Yuan's words. What kind of identity does she have? How would that eldest one's family be interested? I only casually speak about it. Grandmother need not be concerned about it. Shen Yuan smiled and changed the topic. After a few more words he then took his leave, but when he was leaving he quietly gave a look at Zhang Mama. After Shen Yuan left, old Shen Furen kept thinking about what Shen Yuan said before. On one hand, she knew that Shen Yuan's words were outrageous, as even if Shen Xin and wife were open-minded, they would not be able to fancy that family's low-born identity. Moreover, Shen Kaiyu was not one with lust, so this matter was as difficult as to ascend to the heavens. But on the other hand, old Shen Furen's heart was moved by Shen Yuan's words. If Shen Kaiyu found a noble family's young lady, his influence would increase by another level. Old Shen Furen could not stand seeing Shen Kaiyu doing well, so how could she just watch as his wings grew plump? If he were to marry her family's grandniece, not only it would not be better for him, it will also pull the Shen family's eldest household down and would be Shen Kaiyu's hindquarter. This is then good. As Zhang Mama pounded on old Shen Furen's shoulder, she softly said, "Old Furen, actually this old servant also felt that there are some truth to second young master's words." After pausing she then said, "Think about it, if eldest young master married a young lady, old ties will be cemented by marriage. A young lady is on old Shen Furen's side, so things would be easier to do." She whispered, "If the marriage is successfully done, in the future matters of money would be easy. Is not a young lady's money your money?" When these words were spoken, old Shen Furen's eyes brightened. Correct. If Shen Kaiyu married the grandniece from home, naturally the grandniece would be her people. Controlling Shen Kaiyu means controlling the eldest household. Zhang Mama continued, "It would be even better if a young master and fifth young lady get also together. In the future all the wealth of the eldest household would belong to old Furen." Old Shen Furen's heart moved as Zhang Mama's every words nipped into her, and made her so happy that her heart was like flowers in full bloom. Thinking of being able to wrest the wealth from the eldest household and also secretly create chaos within the eldest household, made old Shen Furen very happy. But after a moment she started to get worried. Speaking about it is easy, but that grandniece and grandnephew of mine are all from small families. It is not like the eldest household had never seen the outside world. How would they look up on them? My old Furen, Zhang Mama laughed. You had forgotten the past tactics. How complicated can the matters be between man and woman? One only need to slightly use one brain and nothing is impossible. Her words had hooked old Shen Furen to be lost in wild and fanciful thoughts. In a moment later, old Shen Furen also smiled. Most likely she wanted to smile charmingly, but because one was old, it looked weird. That old state of spring made her look especially ugly as she said, "That said, when a man enjoys and female loves, it is just those little matters." Finishing she gave a look to Zhang Mama, and when both of them saw the deeper meaning behind each other's eyes, old Shen Furen said, "Someone come and bring the box in my room. One had not yet seen my grandniece and grandnephew and one should give them a present for the first meeting." Outside the room, Shen Yuan looked at the low laughter from Rong Jingtang, and a trace of a cold smile appeared in his eyes as he slowly walked out of the courtyard. In the western courtyard, Shen Miao passed 10 pieces of banknotes to Mo King. "Go to Bao Xiang Lu and look for a young lady by the name of Liu Ying. I have already inquired that 100 liang, ancient currency, taels would be enough to buy one night of hers. Take the money and sit with her for a night and do not do anything at all. Go back there once every 3 days." Shen Miao said. When Mo King heard the 3 words Bao Xiang Lu, his face became somewhat green, and when he heard that Shen Miao wanted him to head there to look for that whatever young lady Liu Ying, his face changed from green to red and delayed in taking the bank notes and looked at Shen Miao. Young lady, you are joking with this subordinate. When have you seen me joking with others?" Shen Miao had a serious face on. Mo King thought a little. Since he had known Shen Miao till now, she was very methodical and did not play any jokes on others before. But it was too outrageous to want him to go to a brothel. Mo King shook his head and whimpered as his face blushed. "Young lady, this subordinate. Why does this subordinate need to go to Bao Xianglu?" Shen Miao looked at him. Speaking of which, even after following her for so long in her past life, she had not seen Mo King involved with any young lady. After being a clean male for so many years, she had thought that it was due to the many palace rules, but who knew that this temperament of Mo King and his humming and hawing would be like a commanding guard. She said, "Get you to go, then you should just go. If that young lady Liu Ying asks you why do you do so, you should not say anything. In short, listen carefully. Just be a mute." Mo King, seeing that Mo King still had a look on reluctance on, Shen Miao said sternly, "You do not even listen to my words anymore?" This subordinate dare not. Mo King quickly said. After saying that, he felt some frustration as he was an 8K, 1 Kai equals 1 foot, of a true man and considered to have little opponents under Shen Kaiyu's troops. Why was his heart panicking when Shen Miao roared? It was reasonable to say that he was here to protect Shen Miao, but when he was under Shen Kaiyu, he was not so cautious with him. Could it be that after he had followed Shen Miao, his sense of servitude had become this strong? One was still puzzled after much thought but heard that Shen Miao continued speaking. "I heard that young lady Liu Ying is heavenly charming, and have lots of tricks, and means that there were countless who had fallen to the stones beneath her dress. Even though she was not considered the symbol of Bao Xianglu, she is still a very popular young lady. I selected you because one knows that you are an upright gentleman and also have a strong resolve. Letting you sit for a night meant sitting for the entire night. Do not take advantage of the opportunity to do other things. If the matter is mucked up, then you no longer need to stay in the Shen family's army anymore." Mo King's face turned green and then red as he had never ever felt this hard-pressed before. Disregarding the fact that Shen Miao had said it that explicitly, she actually used a gaze to closely examine his entire body, and stopped for a moment at that particular area at his waist. If it was not that Shen Miao was the mistress, one feared that Mo King would have turned around and leave in a huff. He felt like weeping but had no tears, and did not know how did Shen Miao develop such a temperament. To look at him that openly, Mo King felt like he was a piece of pork on the chopping board. Seeing that Mo King's face has turned purple, Shen Miao then let him go with a wave. "Go then. Remember what I have said." Mo King ran out like a wisp of smoke. Jings was returning back from outside and spoke when she saw him. "What is with Guard Mo? He seems to be in great pain. What happened?" Mo King had always worked calm and composed, and it was the first time seeing him in such tough straits. "Nothing, just embarrassed," Shen Miao said. "How about the matter of inquiry?" Just as Jings was curious what Shen Miao was referring to when she said embarrassed, she heard her question and answered, "Have inquired clearly. The Biao young lady and Biao young master of old Furin's maiden family would be arriving 2 days later." "Really?" Shen Miao lightly smiled. "Is that Biao young lady's name Jing Chu Chu? How does young lady know?" Jings was surprised. Shen Miao did not speak as she lowered her head to cover the killing desire in her eyes. Naturally she knew, she was her previous life's eldest sow. 2 days later the skies were clear. Shen Miao woke up early and saw Shen Kaiyu and Shen Xin sparring swords out at the courtyard. The day was cold but both of them were drenched in sweat, and the guards that were surrounding them were secretly applauding. Just as the spirits were at the highest, one saw old Shen Furin's maid, Zai running over and mentioned that old Shen Furin wanted everyone to head over to Rongjingtang quickly, as her maiden family's Biao young lady and Biao young master had arrived. Shen Kaiyu scratched his head and said oddly, "Which Biao young lady and Biao young master? Why do I not know?" Luo Zuyan on the contrary quickly understood. It is the old Tai Tai's side of relatives. Previously one had never heard of them before, one do not know why they suddenly came over. Shen Xin had no reaction to this. Old Shen Furin was his stepmother, but old Shen Furin's background had determined that she could not be seen in public. Moreover, after so many years, there were no news of her maiden family's side, and one only knew that they were Sushu people. But for the junior generation to come to the Ding capital from afar, and also to be valued by old Shen Furen this much, they could only go up and put up a show. Shen Kaiyu put down the sword and went back with Shen Zin to change to another set of clothes, but when he looked back, he saw Shen Miao standing at the doors with a hard and cold look on her face. He could not help but walk over to ask, "Why is younger sister suddenly unhappy? Just now it was still all good." Shen Miao recovered to her senses and looked at Shen Kaiyu as she smiled. "It is of no matter." There were already people that reached Rongjing Ting, and one could heard old Shen Furen's laughter. Ever since Shen King's accident, old Shen Furen had been putting on a sullen face and had not been this happy. Thus Shenzin and Luo Zuyan were somewhat surprised. When the few of them stepped into Rongjing Tang, they saw that Chen Rikayu's and Shen Gui's households were all present, and at the moment there was a male and female standing in front of old Shen Furen. When old Shen Furen saw that Shenzin and the rest came, she said to the two of them, "This is your Dao Bofu's family," and said to Shenzin, "This is my brother's grandson and granddaughter, Guansheng and Chu Chu." Jing Guansheng, Jing Chu Chu. When the two of them heard this, they quickly turned and greeted Shenzin and entourage in a rush. Shen Miao stood there without moving and calmly sized the two of them up. Jing Guansheng was 18 and Ging Chu Chu was 16 this year. They were all at the peak of their youth. Jing Guansheng looked ordinary and was slightly fat, but his complexion was fair and had some literary air. He wore a plain brown robe and the material was considered of a good quality, tailored fittingly and in good taste. It was just that his pair of eyes had some shrewdness in them which wiped off that little literary air. However, this Jing Chu Chu really looked not bad. Perhaps old Shen Furen's maiden family was naturally good-looking, as Jing Chu Chu actually had some similarity with old Shen Furen, like that look of a pretty daughter from a humble family. But the sharpness that old Shen Furen had when she was young was much more restrained on Jing Chu Chu. The light green silk chiffon dress and the green lotus color jacket were particularly exquisite. Those flowery colors and moonlight appearance made her look pretty, but she was very shy and bashful. Even though she spoke and greeted, her eyes were always staring straight on the ground as she dared not raise her head to look at others. When they were greeting Shen Miao smiled. "Why is Biaoji only look at the floor? My shadow is not on the floor." Jing Chu Chu was stumped and raised her head as she looked at her at a complete loss before looking at old Shen Furen again. Old Shen Furen suddenly frowned and said, "Chu Chu just arrived here and is afraid of strangers. Fifth girl, be more courteous." Old Shen Furen did not have the least qualm to shield one's shortcomings, and at the same time Shenzin and the few changed their expressions. They would not let Shen Miao feel wronged by unknown relatives that did not have a strand of blood relations. So their initial impression of Jing Chu Chu immediately cooled down. Old Shen Furen was unaware of it, but Shen Yuan frowned and quietly glanced at Shen Miao. Shen Miao said, beaming, "Afraid of strangers? No problem. Stay a few more days and one would not be afraid anymore. One would get familiar with this place after all." Her words seemed cordial and had some rare kind of warmth, but when heard by smart people, one would not feel that that was the case. Jing Chu Chu smiled shyly at Shen Miao before lowering her head again to twist the handkerchief in her hands. It seemed that she would blush if she took an additional look. However, it was Jing Guangshen, who was standing at the side, that faced Shen Miao and smiled in a cultured and refined manner. Shen Miao's gaze had never fell onto Jing Guangshen. She kept staring at Jing Chu Chu but was able to hear the grinding of her own teeth. Jing Chu Chu was always like this, shy and bashful, not the least scheming, and always kept her head down timidly, as if everyone was able to bully her. Thus when the incident happened and one saw her and Shen Kaiyu lying on the bed drunk, everyone then scolded Shen Kaiyu worse than a beast. But who could think that this kind of young lady who looked as pure as white paper, would at the end put a green hat on Shen Kaiyu, aka making him a cuckold? And because of the manslaughter of the adulterer, Shen Kaiyu was sent to prison. All the mistakes that were made in the army after the marriage, and that Shen Kaiyu fell off the horse and broke his leg, most likely involved Jing Chuchu, and at the end Shen Kaiyu's corpse was found in the pond by others, but Jing Chuchu fled without a trace with the first household's money. Nothing was more poisonous than a woman's heart, but Shen Miao found that this rabbit-like docile face in front of her was more poisonous and sinister than a snake. Even though Shen Kaiyu did not like her, after marrying Jing Chuchu, he still treated her sincerely. With Shen Kaiyu's character, he would absolutely not let Jing Chuchu suffer. But Jing Chuchu was a out-and-out white-eyed wolf, aka ingrate. Shen Miao kept on staring at Jing Chuchu that even Shen Kaiyu, who was a careless one, also felt that something was wrong and asked puzzled, "Younger sister?" Jingguan Shen also said, "Why is fifth younger sister keep on staring at Chuchu?" Jing Chuchu took a step back and nervously tilted her body to let Jingguan Shen block Shen Miao's line of sight, seemingly afraid. Shen Miao gently smiled. Biaoji is just too beautiful. Thus one was not careful and had overlooked. Shen Yu bit her lips. Now that Shen Miao's appearance was gradually developing, she had already seized much of her limelight. Now with an additional Jing Chuchu, her heart was extremely uncomfortable. Jing Chuchu blushed and softly said to Shen Miao, "Younger sister is the one that is beautiful." Shen Miao smiled and did not comment. Old Shen Furen lightly coughed twice before saying, "Since Chuchu and Guan Shen has arrived, they are our residence's guests. Fifth girl and eldest boy, do bring them around for a spin on normal days." Obviously there were still Shen Yuan and Shen Yu, otherwise there was still Shen Dongling. There were more than Shen Miao and Shen Kaiyu, two grandchildren in the Shen residence, but against expectations she urged both of them repeatedly. Shen Miao's lips slightly hooked up and she glanced over at Jing Chuchu, who had her head lowered before smiling very warmly. "I naturally would take care of older sister." Her face had been delicate and pretty, but in this house full of womenfolk, there was a kind of calm air, and with that slow-blooming smile just now, there was an unspeakable charm. It was still alright with Jing Chuchu, but Jingguan Sheng looked till he was silly. Seeing Shen Miao behaving as such, old Shen Furen was extremely satisfied. She smiled, "That being the case, you all can withdraw. I still have some things to talk with Chuchu." After so many years of not seeing, one do not know if the family is doing well. Old Shen Furen had a kind and devoted expression, but when it landed in Chen Rikaiyu's eyes, there was additional meaning. But she only complied respectfully and followed everyone out of Rongjingtang. Outside Rongjingtang, Jingguan Shen faced Shen Miao and said, "What does fifth younger sister like to do at home?" Xin Xin and Luo Zuyan walked in front and did not hear this conversation, but it was Shen Kaiyu who heard it and vigilantly walked over to Shen Miao's side, and looked at Jingguan Shen without speaking. Shen Miao gently smiled, "Nothing much, just read some books." "Coincidentally, I too like to read books in the residence." Jingguan Sheng smiled, "Most probably can teach Biao Mai a little." Shen Miao glanced at him and the look of contempt in her eyes was so evident that Shen Kaiyu also felt it. He was surprised and felt it was unexpected. How was Shen Miao so unfriendly to someone she met for the first time? But he only heard Shen Miao speaking, "Forget about it. One think that there would not be much books at Biao's residence to teach me. One better send over some books to Biao. They are all loan copies." To go as far as to not disguise the dislike for the other's poor family background made Jingguan Sheng's face to suddenly stiffen. In Rongjingtang, old Shen Furen was pulling Jing Chuchu's hand and said benevolently, "To have such vivid and fresh appearance at such a young age." "Not sure if one had already been in a matchmake," Jing Chuchu said softly, replying old Furen, "Not yet." "That cannot be." Old Shen Furen's smile got much deeper. "With this kind of looks and heart, it would be good if you are able to be my Shen family's granddaughter-in-law." Jing Chuchu's head was lowered and her face was even redder, but her hands gradually clenched. Her Jing family was only ordinary traders, and hearing that grandfather has a sister who flourished in the Ding capital, then let them both grandchildren head to the capital, hoping for them to be supported a little. Earlier on, when they reached the Shen residence, Jing Chuchu's eyes were blurred with the Shen residence's riches, and if she was married into the general residence, not only would she not worry about food and clothes for the rest of her life, She would also be a Furen of a big household. How would Jing Chuchu's heart not be excited? It was just that it was not shown on the surface. Old Shen Furen patted her hand and smiled. Your age is very compatible with the first one's Kai'er. Our Kai'er is a deputy general, and even better thing is that he does not have any partner to marry yet.